From the Daytona International Speedway, it's the 10th annual Daytona 500. And a record crowd of more than 90,000 fans are here in perfect weather for what looks like the fastest stock car race ever held. It certainly will be if the qualifying speeds are any indication, because we have an almost unbelievable 189.222 on the pole set by Cale Yarborough in a 68 Mercury Cyclone. And now the balloons are let loose overhead, and we're just moments away from the start of the race. The pace car, the 68 Camaro, is out on the track. The 25 rows of two, 50 of the fastest stock cars in the world here to compete today. And now let's get a word from our expert on the pit activity, Chris Economaki, who is the editor of National Speed Sport News. Chris?
Right, Bill. Well, the speeds have been the big problem here. The supporting races were rained out, and the drivers are not sure what's going to happen. Will their tires last? Will they be able to stand it emotionally? And whether or not they can draft. Yarborough's qualifying speed of 189.222 is an over 8-mile-an-hour jump over the qualifying speed set last year. And back in 1959, it was a paltry 143.198 that won the pole. A remarkable jump with its problems. Back to you, Bill Fleming.
Right, and here's the field. On the inside is Cale Yarborough, number 21 in the 68 Mercury Cyclone. Number 43 is Richard Petty on the outside of row 2 in a 68 Plymouth Roadrunner. Then on the inside of row 2, it's Leroy Yarborough, number 26 in a 68 Mercury. Outside of row 2 is number 17, David Pearson. 16 is Tiny Lund there. He's in a 68 Mercury. In the inside of row 3, and Bobby Allison, number 29, is next to him in a 68 Ford. Then as we move back in the pack, it's number 7, Bobby Johns in a 66 Chevelle. And number 66 is Al Unser. That's Paul Goldsmith, number 99, and Sam McQuagg, 37. And as we move back, moving up there in the number 19 spot is car number 27. Keep your eye on him. This is A.J. Foyt in a Ford Torino. And car number 11 is Mario Andretti, and he's in the number 20 starting spot in a 68 Mercury Cyclone. Now they're coming around, and they'll be taking the green flag. 2.5 miles around this high bank oval, 200 laps. And one of the toughest races of all time, and it certainly will be today with all those questions that Chris Economaki had pondered. Maybe we'll have the answer in the next hour or so. And here they come, and Yarborough slides right down from his inside pole spot to take that lead around the first one. Richard Petty, however, drops back as Leroy moves right into number 2 spot, and Petty has dropped back into the slot at 3, and David Pearson's giving him quite a challenge for the number 3 position. So it looks like a very hot start right to begin with Cale Yarborough, Leroy Yarborough, and then Richard Petty has been overtaken by David Pearson. So they're not wasting any time to really move out very quickly on this race. And look at A.J. Foyt, number 27, coming up from the 19th spot. He's already moved up 5 or 6 positions. And A.J. just simply does not like to be back in the traffic. Here we come around at the end of the first lap. Cale Yarborough setting the pace as he did in the qualifying. And right behind him is Leroy Yarborough. The rest of the car is strung out. You see lots of bits of paper caused by the tremendous amount of wind currents and eddies, and that can be a hazard as the race wears on, because a lot of that paper gets into the radiators and causes the cars to overheat. Oh, it's Bud Moore. Car spun, and he's okay. He's got it under control, but the caution light has gone out. Bud Moore has spun in the upper turn, and it's okay, but apparently they're going to slow things down here to see if there's anything out on the track. So Bud Moore is apparently going to keep going after that spin. So it's been a very hot start, and we'll be back for more of the Daytona 500 in just a moment. Cale Yarborough has held on to the lead, but we've had a change for second. David Pearson has passed Leroy Yarborough and is now challenging for the lead. And so we've got a Mercury in front, with David Pearson in a Ford in the number 2 spot. Cars number 21 and 17, and you'll notice as they go by there that there's an aerodynamic sleekness to the cars this year, and that may be the reason, one of the main reasons for the tremendous increase in speed. Notice how the nose of the car is down and the rear end is kind of hiked up, and it gives them an aerodynamic flow that they perhaps have not had before, and one of the good reasons for the tremendous increase. An all-time record purse here, more than $200,000 at stake at the end of this grueling 500 miles. Incidentally, coming up a little bit later today, we're going to be taking you to Acapulco for the International Cliff Diving Championship. And you'll be seeing Olympic champion Peggy Fleming's final competition performance. And now H.B. Bailey, car number 36, who had that trouble a little bit earlier, is coming into the pit area. So he's dropping out. Listen to these speeds. On the first lap, 178, but on the second lap, 183.693. And the yellow flag is still out. The seventh lap was 185.185. So Cale Yarborough has been setting a blistering pace here. A little bit earlier, Cale commented about these great speeds and the effects that speeds can have on car and driver.
This is the first time since we've been running at Daytona, or running anywhere actually, that I have felt the G-force as bad as it is. Seems like when you run over 185 miles an hour is when it really starts working on you. And when you go into the turns, I can feel the force, the G-force, stretching the skin on my face, and it feels like my arms weigh 100 pounds each and your head about 200 pounds. So this is definitely going to be a factor in the race that a man's going to really have to be in good physical condition, because this G-force is really going to work on you in the race.
Okay, well, right now, Cale Yarborough is in the pit area, and let's find out what the story is. Chris Economaki.
It's a tough break for Yarborough, Bill. He apparently's got ignition problems of one sort or another, and they're replacing a transistor part.
Chris, I don't know whether you can see this or not, but A.J. Foyt's car is being pushed down the pit area by his crew, and is coming into view here. Obviously, we can't tell what's happened. He was going awfully fast in the early stages of the race, but apparently the car is stalled. So if you have anything to report on that, be sure and bring us up to date. Yarborough had tough luck a year ago, finished 39th in the 500, went out with oil pan trouble, but he won this race in the Firecracker 400. Not this race, but won at Daytona the last time they had a major race here. And now he is back and running.
Bill, here's a story on the Foyt car. It stalled during a pit stop, and they couldn't get it fired up, and in attempting to get it started, the engine caught fire, and they had to put it out, and it's delayed them considerably. Back to you.
All right, the battle now is Tiny Lund, David Pearson, and Richard Petty, and there's Lund, number 16, and he and Pearson, number 17, are battling it out, and Petty's right behind, so we've had a quick change there after Cale had gone into the pits, and Leroy has dropped back a little bit. Look at those cars seesawing back and forth in the early stages of this race. And there is Buddy Baker moving in there. Gets car number 3. We've got a Ford, a Mercury, a Plymouth, and a Dodge running 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's Pearson, 17, and Petty on the outside of him. Petty challenging for the lead here. And don't forget Mario Andretti, number 11. And Mario has been making a great move, moving up very, very fast, starting from his 20th position. Richard Petty, car number 43, followed by David Pearson in car number 17. Petty, it seems, was the man to beat, and he had that mysterious black roof on his car that has caused so much speculation, wondering what it was with that dimpled effect on the roof, and it's caused a lot of talk during the hours of bull sessions in pit row all during the speed weeks. Here's Petty out in front. Look how close they're coming to that wall. Looks like he actually kissed it just for a second. Would you believe that? At these speeds, the centrifugal force throwing the cars way to the outside, and this becomes an increasing danger, of course, as the tires wear on. They don't have the traction, and it tends to send them out of their chute or their normal groove. Now, there's action up here on the turn. This is Hilton's car. A car right up against the wall. James Hilton, who finished 3rd here a year ago, apparently exploded a tire and is right up against the wall. The caution light is out, the flags are out, and there seems to be debris down on the track. And immediately the cars start to pit. Here's Petty's car in the pit area as Richard wants to pit under this yellow caution flag. So all the cars will be coming in here to try to get their tires and fuel, and for some reason or other, Petty is up on top of his car. Look at this furious activity in the pits. Andretti is in, Pearson's in, and Petty is definitely worried about the top. He's got a hammer, is hammering it away. Let's get a word quickly from Chris Economaki.
Bill, apparently a piece of debris from Hilton's car struck the roof just above the windshield and pulled it away from the windshield, and they're trying to fix it now.
All right, David Pearson being stopped before he goes back out of the track. Apparently his gas cap is being fixed. So we'll be back for more of this furious activity in just a moment. Bill Fleming and Chris Economaki reporting the 10th annual Daytona 500. And right now there's car number 11, Mario Andretti, who's moved into third place. Buddy Baker, car number 3, had the lead, but there he goes, losing it to Leroy Yarborough, car number 26. So we've had 5 different leaders now in the race, with Buddy Baker in car number 3 dropping back into second place. And keep your eye on Mario Andretti, who's been making quite a charge from his original starting spot of number 20. He is dueling with Pearson for the number 3 spot right now. So we've got Leroy Yarborough in a 68 Mercury, Buddy Baker in a 68 Dodge, and Mario Andretti in a 68 Mercury. And look how close those cars are. Talk about drafting. They've proved the fact that you can certainly draft at speeds of 185 to 190 miles an hour today. Let's get a quick word with Chris Economaki about the status of Petty.
Richard Petty's had his problems and has had to wire the roof down. He's made another pit stop to smooth out the opening with tape, and he's back in the action now.
All right, we'll keep our eyes on Richard Petty's car. He had the lead at one time, but right now it's Mario Andretti starting to move ahead, and we talked a little bit earlier with him about the scary aspects of this track at high speeds.
Well, I don't know. I don't think you get scared. You more or less, sometimes you worry a bit because things are happening so fast, and you just wonder how much control you have over things, and the way this draft moves you around and so forth. It just sometimes you worry. I know I do, and especially you always think of possible mechanical failure, and as you know, sometimes that can be pretty hairy. I've experienced a couple, and for instance, you pop an engine and you lock the rear wheels. By golly, there's not very much you can do with it.
And it's Leroy Yarborough, Buddy Baker, and Mario Andretti in that order. A Mercury, a Dodge, and a Mercury in 1, 2, and 3. And now here comes Donnie Ellis in car number 66, all scraped off on the right side of the car, and apparently he kissed the wall someplace up on the upper turn. He apparently is just going to have to get that tire changed, and miraculously is staying in the race. Looks like the right front fender is bent in and is cutting the tire. And now here is another car. This is Buddy Baker coming into the pits. He was in second place. So that means that Mario Andretti will be moving up, and Cale is third. Leroy still in first. Let's get a quick word with Chris Economaki about these pit stops.
Well, Bill, the word down here is that the tires are holding up and holding up well. A couple of isolated cases of chassis causing wear have developed, but nothing serious.
The temperature seems to be ideal. Chris, I would think we had a report here that it was about 71 degrees at the start of the race, which would be relatively cool for Daytona.
A cold, Bill, by Daytona standards, and great for the tires.
All right, a good pit stop by Buddy Baker. And now Mario Andretti is challenging for the lead. Mario in car number 11 has moved up from the 20th spot, and moving up is a good case in point when you consider that Cale Yarborough, after a couple of early pit stops due to ignition problems, dropped back to 17th place at the end of 100 miles, and now is back up into third. And now there goes Mario into the lead from Leroy, and Leroy is slowing down. He's going to make a pit stop. So Mario Andretti has taken the lead, and Leroy Yarborough is coming into the pit area. So we'll be sure to keep our eyes on him to see if this is just going to be a routine stop. It appears as if that's the case. Want to make a comment on this stop, Chris?
Well, watching Junior Johnson and Turkey Minton and the boys go to work on that car, they're really great. Junior's an ex-driver, and he knows his business.
All right, and Mario Andretti is the leader. We'll be back for more of the Daytona 500 in just a moment. Here's kind of an interesting point. At the end of 200 miles, Jim Hurtubise set the record of 165.8, and right now the speed was 139.8, 26 miles an hour slower, yet we had a qualifying speed so unbelievably fast. It merely points out the fact that although we've had extremely fast one-lap speeds, the overall speed is slower because we've had 7 caution lights so far because of the mishaps. Nothing serious, but there's been a lot of debris out on the track. Right now, the way it stands, Cale Yarborough has moved into the lead, which has been a remarkable recovery for him after a couple of early pit stops. Mario Andretti is second, and Leroy Yarbrough is third. A.J. Foyt has been coming back strong, as has Richard Petty. Both have had their problems, but they seem to be coming back fairly well. It's all the more surprising for A.J., who was burned several weeks ago in Phoenix at tire tests out there, and he's making a very, very strong race here today. Cale Yarborough, car number 21, Mario Andretti, car number 11, and Leroy Yarbrough is right behind him. So it's been a real good battle. We've had the lead change hands at least 11 different times, and we have 3 Mercuries running, 1, 2, and 3 right now. This might be a good opportunity to bring us up to date on the pit action and cars in and out. Chris?
Well, we've had a great number of pit stops. Whoops, trouble down there.
Watch it. That's Buddy Baker's car, car number 3, Johnny Sears, and Mario Andretti in car number 11 is also in trouble. Mario on the left-hand side of the picture, that's Johnny Sears in 4, and that little incident just wiped out 2 of the big contenders. The yellow caution light out immediately, and we don't know exactly what happened. As you started to talk there, Chris, it looked like Mario got out of shape, hit the wall. Baker apparently kissed him and went down on the inside and just bounced off the big stanchion down there at the entryway to the pits. And there you see Johnny Sears climbing out of car number 4. No activity yet in Buddy. Now Buddy's getting out. Baker's out, and you can see those tire marks. Here's Mario, who's made it over to the pits. Now, whether he's going to try to keep going or not is another question. They'll probably get that left side up. He actually, when we looked at him, was going backwards down the track. So Cale Yarborough, who was challenged by Mario Andretti, escaped that because the activity was behind him. How Leroy got through there, we'll never know, but Buddy Baker didn't get through. Might be a good idea if we take a look at that on the instant replay and see exactly what happened. Here it is, and there is Mario going backwards, Buddy Baker sliding to the infield, and then Mario shooting down, and the other cars just missing him.
Yeah, I just had a word with Mario a moment ago, Bill, and he said that the cars were so close that they came together and it flipped them around.
Here we are, we're looking at it again on the isolated camera, and he was right about them being so close because it looked like Mario was going to set a new world's record for going backwards here at Daytona. So it's a tough break. It's going to cost some valuable time for Mario, and it looks like Buddy Baker is out for the afternoon. There you see the remains of Buddy's challenging Dodge. We'll be back with more activity in just a moment. After that hair-raising 3-car accident right in front of the home grandstands here, the crowd's still buzzing because Buddy Baker is out, and of course the Dodge hopes go with him. They've nosedived. Only Al Unser is left with Dodge. Here's Richard Petty back in to get more tape on the roof. Mario Andretti is definitely out. Last year's Daytona 500 winner won't make it 2 in a row. And we might get a word here with Chris Economaki about the other casualties.
Well, there've been a lot, Bill. Charlie Glotzback is out, along with the big names. Sonny Hutchins and Bobby Johns are both walking around behind the pits here. Donnie Allison and, of course, James Hilton. The field has really been thin.
And the speeds continue with Cale Yarborough leading the pack in a Mercury. Leroy Yarborough is second. Paul Goldsmith in a Plymouth Roadrunner is third. Bobby Allison in a Torino is fourth. Jim Hurtubise is fifth. And Al Unser in a Dodge is sixth. Leroy Yarborough has taken over the lead from Cale Yarborough. And Bobby Allison has actually moved into second with Paul Goldsmith third. Cale Yarborough has dropped back to fourth. We don't know whether there's a problem with the car, but Cale apparently for some reason slowed down. And Leroy has taken the lead with Bobby Allison in the number 2 spot in car number 29. It's kind of interesting that Bobby Allison has a manager here today. A former race driver, Fred Lorenzen, is managing car number 29. Now there is activity in the pits, and here comes Paul Goldsmith, currently the 3rd place car. That'll move Cale back into the number 3 spot. Let's find out about this pit stop, as well as what's happened down there previous to now with Chris Economaki.
Well, Ray Nichols' crew is servicing Goldsmith's cars, purely routine and no problems, but there is problems in Cale Yarborough's pit. At the last pit stop, they'd been letting him go as fast as he wanted to go, and they found that at 185 miles an hour, the engine overheated, so they're holding him to 183, and he's back in now right in front of us.
Okay, any particular reason for the overheat problem? Was it any paper in there that's blown up in the radiator, or what?
Bill, they've cut a hole in the radiator to get at some of that debris that we saw in the very first lap, paper napkins and litter and so forth, and that might be it.
Okay, here's Leroy into the pits right now. So Leroy is in, Cale's in, Goldsmith, and Bobby Allison has taken over the lead in car number 29. And if you want it, they're scrubbing the front of that radiator. Apparently that also is being... Chris, can you see him scrubbing that?
That's right, Bill. The litter here today has clogged a lot of radiators.
Okay, that's Leroy's car that was getting scrubbed off, and you saw Cale just go out a moment ago, so maybe both of them are having overheating problems. But right now, it's Bobby Allison in car number 29, his 68 Ford, who has the lead, and Yarborough really turning it on. These overheating problems, of course, could cause a bit of trouble as we come down to the final 30 laps of this race. There you see Goldsmith running right behind Al Unser. Al Unser has the only Dodge Charger left in the race. We've had 10 different leaders in this Daytona 500. And if you were with us before we left for the other sequences in the show today, you'll recall hearing that Mario Andretti is out of the race, as is Buddy Baker after their wreck right in front of the home grandstands. A.J. Foyt, however, still running, although he's quite a distance back. Cale Yarborough is now in second place, and Goldsmith is third. Leroy's car is in again. Chris?
Well, here's the big problem. Leroy came in right after being serviced, and they're looking around. They can't seem to find anything wrong. They gave him a little bit of gas and sent him out. This is a costly stop for Leroy. He lost a lot of ground here.
Okay, well, if you find anything, let us know on Junior Johnson's car here. Leroy going back, and apparently, a visual inspection anyway, indicates there's nothing wrong with it.
Bill, I just had a word with Junior, and I asked him what happened, and he's really sore. He said he doesn't know, we don't know, there's nothing wrong with the car.
Well, that sounds like Junior. Okay, we're coming down now to the closing stage of this Daytona 500, which was supposed to be the fastest of all time. It was as far as qualifying is concerned, but the overall speed is not as fast as in previous years. And here is Bobby Allison into the pits. Bobby Allison, the current leader, has to come into the pits for servicing. So Cale is in the lead, Cale Yarborough, then Goldsmith, and Leroy is in third place right now. And a pit stop for Bobby Allison. This undoubtedly will be the last pit stop of the day for Bobby, who hopes to get right back out there and running. His brother Donnie had kissed the wall a little bit earlier and has had some trouble.
We've had a tremendous number of pit stops here, Bill. Cale Yarborough, running up with the leaders, has made 9 stops so far today.
Right, there's a 4.3 second lead that Cale Yarborough has over Goldsmith. Leroy Yarborough is third. And again, I'll mention, don't confuse the two, Cale Yarborough and Leroy Yarbrough. They are not related, although they are both driving Mercury Cyclones. And here is Sam McQuaig's car with blue smoke pouring out of it. And with these cars turning around 7,000 RPMs, when something lets loose, the blown engine spreads debris and metal all over the place, and that telltale blue-white smoke coming out. The caution light is out now. Now this gives the opportunity some of those cars who are having some problems to come on into the pit, and now the parade begins. So keep us up to date, Chris.
Bill, Cale Yarborough's coming in to make his 10th pit stop of the race. The question now is, will that engine temperature inhibit his late race drive?
Okay, Cale is coming into the pits, and we'll be back with more from this exciting Daytona 500 from the Daytona International Speedway in just a moment. We're into the final 10 laps now, and the pit stops have juggled the leaders to this extent. Leroy Yarborough has taken the lead. Cale Yarborough is in second place, and Bobby Allison is in third place. And now we're watching the interval timing. The clock shows Leroy's lead of 4.2 seconds over Cale Yarborough and Allison. And bad news for A.J. Foyt's fans. A.J., after battling his way all the way back and hard luck at the beginning, worked his way up to 10th place, has dropped out of the race because of transmission troubles. Leroy Yarborough in car number 26 in the lead. Only 4.2 seconds ahead of Cale Yarborough, and Bobby Allison's right behind. And these last 9 laps can really be punishing. Now we're going to get another interval timing to see if Leroy has been able to keep it over Cale. 2 seconds flat. Cale Yarborough has picked up 2.2 seconds in this last lap over Leroy. And so this may be a very hairy finish in this race. Leroy apparently losing some time here on the last lap, and Cale, although he has had some overheating problems in his engine, isn't bothered right now. Chris, I don't know whether you've been able to learn anything more in the pit area about the strategy here with these two Mercuries running head and head.
Well, the Wood Brothers pit crew, Cale Yarborough's boys, have said go, but they're worried about that engine temperature. He's got new tires and he's ready for the finish drive, but his needle has been over near the post.
And it looks like Leroy has been straying just a little bit to the outside. Perhaps he's having a little tire trouble there, too. 2.4, he picked up 0.4 of a second on the last lap. So Leroy now leads by 2.4 over Cale Yarborough. So we'll keep our eyes on these two Mercuries. Incidentally, the engines in the factory Ford Torinos and the Mercury Cyclones are virtually the same. For you racing buffs, they're officially designated as 427s, twin carbureted, tunnel ported racing wedges. And under proper tuning, they have developed as much as, and get this, 625 horsepower. All right, we're going to get another interval timing here as Leroy Yarborough has been holding a very... Ooh, he almost lost it behind a slower car. Did you see him bump to the outside? Held on for dear life there. It was 2.4 the last time. It's 1 second. 1 second separating Leroy Yarborough from Cale Yarborough, and what a race this is turning out to be. Almost unbelievably close. A 500-mile race, and they're only 1 second apart. There they are, just the flick of an eyelash, and the difference between first and second place is $30,000. Here's Cale moving up. He's even with him. And Leroy fights him off. He's got a little bit more room. He's a higher on the track and closes the door on Cale. But it's beginning to look as if Cale has just a little bit more oomph down that backstretch. A great race that you're seeing right here between two of the best drivers in the world, Leroy Yarborough and Cale Yarborough. They're doing 185 plus miles an hour, and they've been running that way when we haven't had the caution light out today. I remember 7 years ago when ABC's Wide World of Sports was first here, and we were lucky to hit the 150 mile an hour barrier. Here's another try by Cale. And he's got him. Oh, he loses it. He had him just for an instant until they went into the turn, and you saw him have to back off because of traffic in his lane. A great break for Leroy, and Cale lifted that foot just at the last instant before moving into that slower car. Coming around, everybody's standing. This has been a race to behold, despite the fact that we had 11 caution lights earlier, and the pace was relatively slow. It's been a blistering battle for the last 10 laps. And now, Cale Yarborough using the drafting technique at these critically high speeds where the G-forces are sometimes 2 Gs in the turn, moving up on Leroy, getting a draft from him down the backstretch. And this time he's got him. Cale Yarborough has taken the lead, and when he comes by the home stretch, they will have 2 laps to go. Cale Yarborough, who set the qualifying pace and a new close course record of 189.222 miles per hour, has taken the lead from Leroy Yarborough, and here they come with 2 laps to go. It's an unbelievable race, and let's get a quick comment from Chris Economaki.
Bill, this situation should spell good news for Leroy. In years past, second spot's been the one to be in nearing the end of a race, but whether that'll prevail today or not, only time will tell.
Cale Yarborough, who won the Firecracker 400 here back in July, is hoping to make it 2 in a row over the Big D, the big track at Daytona, the world's fastest race course. And now he has lengthened the lead to about 1.5 seconds over Leroy Yarborough. And Leroy's going very high on those turns, and it looks like he may be having a handling problem with the car. Look at this car coming in here. That shows you what can happen at the stresses of high Gs and wind. One of the slower cars coming in with an entire bent-up hood. There's the white flag with 1 lap to go. You'll recall that in July, Cale took the lead on the 4th turn to win this race, and now he has a lead over Leroy, but as Chris Economaki mentioned, Leroy might be in a position to move Pye in the draft. And here they go, one more turn to make. It's Cale Yarborough, Leroy right behind him. Here it is. Can Leroy put enough into that engine to come down the home stretch? It doesn't look like he's going to make it. Cale fights him off. And the checkered flag is out for Cale Yarborough, and there is Leroy Yarborough right behind. Exactly 1 second. Cale beating Leroy Yarborough, and that is the difference between $47,250 and $17,000 second place money. A great race run by both Cale and Leroy. We'll be back to have the victory lane ceremony in just a moment. Now here's the official order of finish. Cale Yarborough in a 68 Mercury Cyclone first, Leroy Yarborough in a 68 Mercury Cyclone second, Bobby Allison in a Ford Torino was third, then Al Unser in a Dodge Charger, David Pearson in a 68 Ford Torino was fifth, and Paul Goldsmith in a Plymouth Roadrunner was sixth. Now let's go down to Chris Economaki and a talk with the winner.
Did you have any tough problems throughout the contest?
Nothing but problems all day, Chris. Everything in the world went wrong, but I thank the great Foot Brothers. Nobody else, I don't feel, could have done it to pull us through. And most of all, thank Ford Motor Company and Firestone Tires, and most of all, the good Lord. Without him, we couldn't have done it.
What about that hole in the radiator?
Well, after we put water in it twice, it held for the balance of the race. I never thought it would, but it did.
Did you have any close calls?
Not any real close calls. Seemed like all the action happened on the other end of the racetrack for me.
Well, congratulations and continue good luck to you.
Thank you.
So Cale Yarborough wins his second straight big one at Daytona. He'll be back to try for an unprecedented 3 in a row in July. The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Rune Arledge. Acapulco Cliff Diving, produced and directed by Lou Volpicelli. Daytona 500, produced by Ned Steckel and Jay Michaels, and directed by Mac Hemian. Associate directors Bernie Hoffman, Larry Cam, and Ronald Hawkins. Coordinating producer Jim Spence. Remember, next week, we'll be at the new Madison Square Garden in New York for the Joe Frazier-Buster Mathis heavyweight fight in color. And we'll also be in Detroit for live color coverage of the NCAA Indoor Track and Field Championships with Jim Ryan. This is Bill Fleming saying so long, along with Chris Economaki. Today's program was pre-recorded. Air travel arrangements for ABC's Wide World of Sports made through United Airlines, who also furnish promotional consideration.